Hey everyone, Debbie Reed here with Think Healthcare Solutions, Stress About Healthcare, and the Healthitude Academy. I have another blog that I've gone over that I would like to go over, and it's called The 6 Psychological Effects That Explain Our Brain. That's a mouthful. And it's another layer getting us to think about, there's no magic in making changes and bettering our lives. It takes hard work, it takes effort, and it takes a willingness to do the things that we need to do in order to improve ourselves. So having said that, the fundamental mental mechanisms of memory, attention, and language, that all ties into how we view life, how we view ourselves, how we view others, how we perceive our joy and our happiness. And our mindset is so important in making improvements in our health, our happiness, our relationships, the world around us. And that's it in a nutshell. And until we can face that and put a positive spin on it and roll up our sleeves and get to it, we're not going to be successful in any of our endeavors in making changes. Whether they're changes that, if we have poor health and we have to make changes, if we're just not happy and want to be happier, if, whatever the spectrum and wherever you fit on that spectrum, it all depends on here in our mindset and what we do with it and the rewiring that we can achieve. And these are some, like I said, some prerequisites to one of our great courses on called The Road to Happiness. So this is just kind of a precursor of getting us to in our mind where we can receive the information and receive the ability to plow through and do the steps that we need to do to make those changes. So this article talks about 6 psychological effects that explain our brain. You can also look at it as kind of a personality traits, not a test, but it kind of gives a little insight into the person that you are. And then you take that information again, build on it, work with it, fix it, rearrange it, make change, whatever. It's just a way to acknowledge who we are and what we have to work with and what we can do with it. Memory studies how people memory psychology is a study of how people remember things and what happens when they forget them. The psychology of language looks at how people communicate, understand each other, and use language in our everyday lives. And that's both verbal and physical. How we carry ourselves, how we respond, all of that great stuff. It really kind of gives us a look inside to who we are and what kind of work we got ahead of us. The multi-level approach to memory formation and storage is a process that involves many different stages and components. Formation begins with sensory information, and an event enters the brain, converting it into neural impulses. These impulses are then encoded into various regions of the brain and stored. And that's just a really basic look at, our memories, our thoughts, our short-term memory, our long-term memory, and all of that great stuff. Cues can make memories more vivid. Verbal cues can make memories more vivid. It's been found that cues can make memories more vivid, and signals are found using different words or phrases to describe the same event. A study in the Journal of Memory showed it can improve memory recall by providing linguistic cueing, which is another way of not just seeing something, but like talking through it, or verbally explaining, or it's just that added layer of not just taking it in visually, but hearing it helps in making our memories more clear. A word might trigger, oh, I remember when, and that's where that comes in. Attention and cognitive functioning in everyday life, the process necessary for the brain to function correctly. It helps us focus on the important information while ignoring irrelevant information. Some of us might need a little more work on that. Don't, the saying, don't sweat the small stuff. That might be the insignificant and irrelevant that some of us might kind of focus in on when we really don't need to. Non-conscious processing. The brain is an organ that controls the way we think and feel. It comprises of many parts, and which work together to help us sense and understand the world around us. The brain is made of billions of cells called neurons, which process information and communicate. Neurons are connected through specialized junctions called synapses. The brain is divided into two hemispheres, the right and left, and the left hemisphere controls logical thinking, while the right controls creative thought. So that's kind of, again, that's kind of the personality thing. Is like, are you creative, or are you more science and math and all of that stuff? Some of us, our right is more prominent than our left, and vice versa. So there's the 6 effects are the pratfall effect, which is you're more likable when you are less perfect. So this kind of goes into, if you think about it, this is kind of a type of personality, how your personality is wired. You are more likely to remember something if it contains humor or an embarrassing moment. Example, you are trying to remember a grocery list but can't. You might remember it better if you think of when you spilled all the cereal on the floor. So you find the humor in things to help your memory. The next one is a Pygmalion effect. Your performance is better when your expectations are higher. We tend to see what we want to see. We're also more likely to believe what we want to think. It's a phenomenon that occurs when people have expectations of how someone will perform, and those expectations influence the person's performance. So, like, for example, if you think your daughter will be an actress, you might move her towards drama school to influence those decisions. In the mid-1900s, this was first coined by Robert Rosenthal in 1968. So the paradox of choice is another one. You are less satisfied with your decision when you have more options. The more we have, the less satisfied we are with our selection. This is Barry Schwartz in 2004, he described the problem of having too many choices. Schwartz argues that when faced with an abundance of choices, these people tend to usually make one of three decisions. They pick one choice and stick with it. They choose from among their favorites. They can try to find the best option. However, when they're faced with limitless choices, people are often get paralyzed and cannot decide at all. Maybe that's my thing. I can never decide where to eat, or it's like, hey, where do you want to go? I don't know. I can't make that decision. But so that's the paradox of choices and having too many choices, and that can be a daunting task for some people. It can be really hard to make those decisions. So the bystander effect. Individuals are less likely to help someone if other people are present. They tend to stand back and hope that somebody else saves the day. And the example that they use here is there was a woman, Kitty Genesee, who was murdered near her home in 1964, and her cries were ignored by 38 neighbors that heard her. So it's kind of like when you come upon the scene of, like an accident or something, or if there's, this is human nature. People tend to, hope somebody else steps up. I don't want to. But it's a type of personality as well. And the spotlight effect is the overestimate the amount of attention other people place on you. So this is a spotlight fallacy. It is a cognitive bias that occurs when people believe that they are being paid more attention than they are. We assume that what we notice about ourselves is also seen by others. This was first called to the attention in 1922 by Edward Bernays. He's an American pioneer in public relations and propaganda. A study in 2006 found that people overestimate how much other people notice about them. And I think I think I can attribute that to someone that might be self-conscious. That's a good example. And the last one of the 6 is the focus effect. You pay too much attention to one detail, overlooking the bigger picture. That's where I think a good term is like hyper-focused on something. The focus effect is a phenomena that happens when people are focused on one thing that they don't notice other things around them. The focus effect is a result of how our brain works. It's the brain's way of saving energy by not processing information that is considered useless to the task at hand, but actually could be otherwise information that does need to be taken in. So the 6 facts, so we are another way to interpret who we are, our personality traits, and understanding of what we have to work with when making life changes. We were working with changes on changing some habits or developing good ones. So this is all tying back in to making better choices and changing old habits, bad habits, and creating or replacing them with good habits. It is hard to understand how these parts work together to produce our personality and happiness because they are so intertwined. Yet, if we know how each of us processes affect us, then we can better understand why we are the way we are and what will make us happy. And just telling us that we're happy is not necessarily enough. I can't encourage you enough that you can make really good choices in order to improve your happiness factor. And we'll continue to explore a relationship between personality and happiness and what you can do to increase your level of happiness through making changes and self-awareness and all of that great stuff. and finding the person that you want to become more, and finding joy and happiness. So I encourage you to join us at Think Healthcare Solutions and your road to health and happiness. Like I said earlier, we do have a great course that will help you rewire your mindset, change a little your personalities to gel into your self-awareness and the triggers that make you happy or not make you happy, and how to fix that. With the right tools and the right help and support, you can feel the joy and the happiness that you deserve. And you can start today by checking us out on our website, check us out on Facebook, and we look forward to serving you.